Thank you for joining us. Now, the Christian Council of Ghana has charged churches in the Greater Accra region and those outside the region to adhere to the GAT Traditional Council's directive on banning on drumming and noise making. The council says the ban is also a religious activity and must not be disregarded. It comes after the GAT Traditional Councils clamped down on churches and other groups defying the directive during Sunday church service. The task force seized musical instruments and cautioned church leaders of the Abekano Doko branches of a Pentecost and Lighthouse churches amidst skirmishes and confrontation between the task force and the church folk. Some of the videos of the confrontation has since been making rounds on social media. Some of the videos that have since made rounds on social media following yesterday's clampdown by the task force on some churches in the Greater Accra region. Gilbert Ankra is Public Relations Officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Thank you, Gilbert, for joining us. So what's been the level of compliance so far to the ban on noise making and drumming, especially on the back of yesterday's clampdown in parts of Abekano Doko?
Good afternoon, Governor, and let me say a good afternoon once again to your cherished listeners. When you look at level of compliance with respect to this year's ban, in as much as some of the churches are complying, there are some other challenges. We have some issues with a couple of them. Yesterday, for instance, if you look at what the task force had to do with respect to areas they visited, you see clearly that most of the churches, in as much as they were not playing the drums, a lot of them were using the keyboards, they were using their microphones and their loudspeakers. And if anyone is within their premise or outside their premise, they could hear the loud noise. So these are some of the challenges. And let me also state that there are some of the churches who would say that they have large congregation, and for that matter, they would have to use the microphone to preach. That is not an issue, but the issue is where you open the volumes of the microphone to the extent that if people are around, you could hear the sound coming out from there. And there should not even be any form of singing through the microphone. So these are some of the issues. One other complaint that the records are coming into the traditional council is with respect to our Muslim brothers. If you look at the horns that they normally use during tone for calling of prayers, if you look at what they do pertaining that is also a challenge, because the horns they use create some level of noise, and during this period loudspeakers positioned outside and indoors and all that are all to be banned. So we have a serene environment in preparations towards the Homo War.
So what is the sanction regime, for example, for those who are caught flouting? For example, yesterday the churches that the task force visited, what were the punitive measures, for example, that were meted out to them?
So if the task force gets to your premise, be it the church, a mosque, the pub, any form of institution, and you are creating noise, whatever instrument you are using. So, for instance, yesterday the speakers, microphones, the amplifiers, and those other equipment that they were using were confiscated. They were seized by the traditional council, by the task force. So all these items are brought to the traditional council, and then owners are expected to go to the traditional council, identify their items, and then pay a fine, after which the items will be given out to them. Let me also state that I want to add quickly that the task force, when they go in, they ensure that they take inventory of every item they take, together with representatives from the church or whatever institution they visit as well.
Okay, thank you. Gilbert Ankra is Public Relations Officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly there speaking to us.